Okay, welcome to Science of Mind 102, Center for Spiritual Living, Asheville. I think we're on class 7 tonight. It is January 28th, 2019, in the time and space where I am. I'm not sure where you are, but we are all here now. So we always begin in treatment. Take a deep breath. And what I know is that there is an infinite power and presence. It is the divine, it is spirit, it is cause. And out of that, all creation takes place. What I know is that in every point of creation, the infinite is. The ubiquitous nature of spirit is right where we are. We are made out of God's stuff. We are spiritual beings made out of spiritual stuff, living in a spiritual universe. And I know that we come together this night to open up more than we have ever opened before, to get that we are creating our experience, that our thought directs law and manifests as our life. And I know that we take this information and we use it wisely in our lives to create more joy, more love, and more happiness than ever before. And so, knowing that each one of us gets exactly what we need, I move into gratitude. Grateful for Science of Mind teachings, for Ernest Holmes, for Center for Spiritual Living Asheville, for this class, for each and every one of us, and the opportunity to take another step along life's path together. And in that gratitude, I simply release this treatment into the mind of God, the body of God, and the heart of God, because I know that it's all God, as together we say, and so it is. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I was making a joke about thank you for coming out in the weather, because anytime someone says snow in Asheville, people tend to freak out. Along that line, classes are already canceled for tomorrow, because there will be black ice somewhere between here and where some people go home. Those of you who signed up for the treatments tomorrow night for Practitioner 1, you should have gotten a message today from Margot, and she will reschedule you for the following week if you still would like to have prosperity treatments from the Practitioner 2 class. Yay. So, treatment celebrations. What have you got? Ophia.
Well, I've been having just some really awesome, powerful clarity lately, and I know, for one thing, I was asking to get treated for it, but I was also treating Ian for clarity, and it was a few days ago, I was practicing spiritual mind treatment at home, and actually was able to start to tap into that, and I realized I had been, I pictured myself as like, and you know, there's the ground, there's the sky, and that I was always kind of floating around up here, but that my stomach was almost like a positive magnet facing another positive magnet, like on the earth or something like that. I was pushing away from it, like hovering away from the ground or something, just kind of the image I got. And so when I like just kind of let that out, like kind of the feeling that like the universe is all under me too, like it's not, I don't have to, and I got this, the phrase that came to me while it was happening was rooted flow, where I'd always kind of had the flow, kind of slip around a little too much, and like, but that feeling of, you know, both, like of being here and like all of existence passing through me, instead of me trying to bottle it and put it here and whatever, just
wonderful. So you had a treatment for clarity, you were treating Anne for clarity, you got clarity, and you had this wonderful experience on top of it.
Yeah.
Yay! Who else? Anne.
And I also got clarity. I wanted clarity and wisdom in a family matter and guidance, and things are going really well.
Yay! Wonderful! Yay! Come on in, treatment celebrations. Troy.
I've recently requested to be treated for imagination and creativity, specifically relating to my love of photography. It's one thing to love photography, but to get better at it, those are vital things that a person needs. This week, I found myself fortunate enough, now remembering 3 years ago, I didn't know which end of a camera to use.
Really? You're an excellent
Well,
photographer.
I did, when I was younger, I had a Pentax and I shot quite a bit, but that was a long, long time ago.
Mhm.
So, anyway, Joey G is in Asheville. He's a very famous photographer.
Oh, because I,
Yeah, he's a member here, as a matter of fact.
Johnny.
oh, Joe Gimignani,
Yeah.
yes.
And
Jim and I.
Yes.
Jim and Yanni.
easy for you to say.
Say his last name.
So I gave Joe a call, and he said he'd like to go shoot a waterfall. So I said, oh, I got one for you, my very favorite. So I thought about East-to-Toe, and I've done it to death, but I still love it. And then it dawned on me that another very good friend, Susanna Houston, is the master, in my opinion, of that particular waterfall. So I gave her a call, said, could you join us? And then, let's see, Dory came, gave us a call and said, can I? Yeah, sure, of course you can. So anyway, I found myself this morning at 9 o'clock in a mist-shrouded waterfall. Beautiful. With two of my favorite photographers and myself shooting my favorite waterfall.
And doing it at the level of
So
excellence.
it's, yeah.
Yay.
So-
Good. Who else? Treatment celebrations. Sandy.
Okay, I got this treatment off of one of the CSL sites, and it's called This Grand Day, or maybe it was in that thing, you book. Might have been in that one.
This thing called you.
Yes, that book. So he did it for me last week, and this week's just been a grand. Everything's been grand. I got a lot accomplished, and so yeah.
Yay. Yay. Tell you, anybody who leaves the house without doing treatment work is nuts. Especially once you understand how you're creating your day. Don't just go charging out into race consciousness. Get yourself together, clean yourself up, focus yourself, have a grand day. Yes. Who else? Treatment celebrations. Hella.
I had hurt my wrist and I was poking it and messing with it and doing all I could and nothing worked, and I thought, well, just try a treatment. And
If all else fails, try a treatment.
and it was hurting and I wasn't thinking right now, I was sick, you know, and it took it like instantly,
Yes.
which was freakish.
Yes.
And another one I've been working on faith, because I don't have very much faith compared to how much it would be good to have, you know, according to your faith and blah, blah, blah. So I was working on that last week, and then I suddenly woke up in the middle of the night, got this loud voice saying, of course it works, and you know, I just said, but what? Oh, and I was like, oh, and then I knew what it was, and faith is just
And
coming
yes, you
along.
do have faith. You may not have faith in what you want to have faith in. You may
Well,
have faith
yeah,
in
that one.
things not working out.
Yes.
But you have plenty of faith. It's just where are you going to focus it?
That's true.
Yay, Hella. I love the physical manifestations because you can't argue with those. It's not wooey, peace on earth. It's this thing hurt. I did a treatment and it stopped hurting. I love that. Love them almost as much as the money falling out of the sky. Who else? Treatment celebrations. Stephen.
I had money fall out of the sky. I got a bank error in your favor, $750.
Good. Anybody else? Okay, you read the chapter last week before this class on principles of successful living. One of my favorite chapters in the entire book. Do you have comments on it? Do you have questions about it? Were you as enthralled with it as I am? We're in a role that I particularly like. It's principles of successful living, and then mental equivalence, and then the law of attraction. I remember when the the Law of Attraction movie came out, and Rhonda Byrne, and all of that, and the whole world was swept up in the Law of Attraction, and I got up and held up the signs of my textbook and said, in 1926, Ernest Holmes wrote a chapter called The Law of Attraction. We have been doing this for a long time. So, tell me about your experience with Principles of Successful Living. Are you doing your homework?
But I'm getting better.
You don't have to have anything. I just really like this chapter. But I also like the next chapter, which is mental equivalence, which I'll jump into if you don't have anything. But I would recommend you take some time and read the Principles of Successful Living. It is chock full with good stuff. Very, very good stuff. Okay, we're moving on. Moving on. Mental equivalence. Let me get one of my new purple markers. Manifested an entire box of purple dry erase markers after my comments last week.
Oh.
It's hard to read.
It's lavender.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh,
Uh-oh.
the lens on.
Yeah.
What?
Dark is black.
Well, I do appreciate the thought, Stephen. They actually feel a little dry.
I bet you could just put them in like a closed thing with some sort of moisture. Yeah. Just push water or something.
Mental equivalent. So we're going to just look at the word. Did I spell it right?
Sort of.
E-A-L-E-N-T.
Well,
E-Q-U-I. Isn't that right?
Your L and B.
E-Q-U-I.
V.
V-A-L. Where's my spell check? Where are you? Mental equivalence. So mental is mind. We're not talking about a measuring cups that you're gonna bake a cake with. We're talking about something that happens on an energetic level, at the level of consciousness or mind. We're talking about a more ethereal concept than something hard and fast. When you think a thought, you can't really chase it down and grab it and say, this is my mental thought here. So we're going to let ourselves just spread out in that mindset a little bit. And then equivalence is equal. Right?
A-L.
A-L.
Terrible spelling. E-Q-U.
Yeah, that's what I don't know.
I-V is
U-
Victor.
A-L. Equal. So something on the mental realm is going to equal something. And this is so important because when I say, all you have to do is turn away from the condition, focus on what you want, be really clear about what it is you're choosing in your life, and it'll pop into your life, then how do you do that? And so this chapter takes us on a journey of how we do the inner work to create the things on the outer that we want to have in life, whether it's an arm that doesn't hurt, or a beautiful photography shot, or clarity, or whatever it is, $750 out of the blue, whatever it is, how do we do that? And if you remember, when you first came into this teaching, you may have had mental equals of things that you didn't really want. You may have had faith in something terrible happening instead of something wonderful happening. So you had that equal in consciousness to what you were having. And I always tell people, if they want to know what's going on in their consciousness, all they have to do is look at their life. whatever it is you have. How are your relationships? How's your body? How is your prosperity? How is your joy? That will tell you what's going on in consciousness in you. And so what we want to do is we want to look at how to develop something that will equal what we want in our life. And I liken it to a Jell-O mold. It's a cosmic Jell-O mold, so it will be a spiritual and a very holy Jell-O mold. But when we have unformed substance of spirit, pre-manifest, just floating around waiting to show up in physical form, we can provide the Jell-O mold for that which we want in our life. And the cool thing about that is it is infinite unformed substance, and the only thing that stops us from having what we want is how big of a mold can we have. If we go to the ocean and we go with a teaspoon, all we're going to do is get a teaspoon out. And if we have a belief system that says, all I ever get is a teaspoon, all I deserve is a teaspoon, there's not more than a teaspoon of ocean water anywhere, even though I'm looking at the entire ocean. That's all that there is, and we have that hard, fast belief, that equivalent inside of ourselves, then that's what we're going to manifest, even if we're standing in the entire ocean. If we only go with a spoonful, that's all we're going to get. And so what we do is we start to expand our ability to equal what we want in our life. And the more that we can expand that, the more that we can believe it, the more that we can accept it, the more that we can feel that it's real, the more we will have that in our lives. That's why we start off in Science of Mind 101 with hidden beliefs and looking at some of the things we may have dragging in from childhood that say, I don't deserve to be loved and there's something very wrong with me and that's going to limit my view of life and my experience. And we look at that and say, no, that's not true. You are God in form as you. You are magnificent. You are glorious. You are amazing. And so we start to think different thoughts, and that expands the inner area of our energetic focus. You know, we say the word consciousness. It's very hard to really get a sense of what that is. But there is a level of us that is not physical, that is energetic, it is mental, it is very creative, and that's the level in which we work. That's why this is such a hard teaching for some people who need to be able to hold it. I'll believe it when I see it. And we say, you'll see it when you believe it. We work in the realm of mind first, and then we get to hold it in our hands. So how do we expand that mental equalness of what we want? Has anybody ever done a vision board?
Yes.
Why do we do vision boards? A vision board is a piece of poster with pictures cut out from magazines and glued onto the board, and we put it somewhere where we will see it over and over again. Why do we do vision boards, Lynn?
To imprint our consciousness.
To imprint our consciousness, to have that be the norm, that there's a sailboat or an airplane or a beautiful view or whatever we may put on our vision board, to imprint in us that these things are not far away, but when we awaken in the morning, that's what we see. That's what we put in our consciousness so that we can expand our thoughts about what life is like. I remember when I was in Fort Lauderdale taking Science of Mind classes, and I was just dirt poor, but I was taking Science of Mind classes, and I was very committed to using these teachings to create the life of my dreams, which after 40 years, I'm pretty clear that I have that. I would go with my little cut-off jean shorts and tank top and flip-flops. You know, I would go to the Galleria Mall on Las Olas Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, and I intentionally would go into the very high-priced, not the chain stores, the ones where someone actually comes to you right away and starts talking to you. I would break out in a sweat. But I would go into those stores, and I would force myself to put those clothes on my body. I'm not sure how thrilled the salespeople were that I was showing up to do that, but I wanted to know what it felt like to have what I would call rich people's clothes. And I know that that was just in my mind because the truly wealthy don't wear those clothes. They wear jeans and a t-shirt and they're very happy living their lives. But I had it in my head that this was something far away and other. And so I needed to make it close and mine. And so I would put those clothes on, you know, and especially in wealthy cities, nobody knows how much money you have. It's really great because you can be a multi-millionaire and look like, you know, you're going to be picking up a sign on the side of the road. Although Fort Lauderdale is the only place that I saw well-dressed homeless beggars. They had khaki pants and nice shoes on and holding up their little sign. It was a riot. I digress. So I would go into these stores and I would put the clothes on. I would go into the car dealerships. And I kept waiting for people to spot the fraud that I was and throw me out, but they never did. And I would sit in the car. And I would close my eyes and I would breathe in that new car smell. And I would feel what leather feels like and what a padded steering wheel feels like and what something that is spit-shined and beautiful looks like and how I can have that connection in my life. And by doing these kinds of things, I slowly started to expand what was equal in my mind. I also started making friends with the people that I knew had a lot of money. So, and I was cute, you know, I was in my 20s and had the big smile and all of that. And they would take me places. And I would be able to do things that I wouldn't have done on my own. And it was great going to wonderful restaurants, going to a restaurant where you sit in a table right on the water and watch the boats go by. You know, I demonstrated a house on the Intercoastal through all of those experiences. And my home, I could sit in on the patio and watch the boats go by on the Intercoastal. I created that by putting myself in a position where I had to stretch what I thought was normal. Because coming into this teaching, what I thought was normal was there's never enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough food, not enough opportunity. Just whatever it was, there was never enough of it, and I always came up short. And so I had to look at that and question if that was real. I mean, did I really show up on planet Earth with this big dark mark on my soul and I was doomed to struggle and frustration and punishment my whole life? Was that really true? Or did I make that up? Did I fabricate that story? Did I constrict what I believed would be possible? And if I could constrict it, could I expand it? And so I purposefully put myself in environments where I would be able to experience things that I never had experienced before. And I had myself feel, I can have this. I can have this. I can do this. There's no difference between me and the guy living on the sailboat next to the restaurant. You know, he just created it to where he gets to live on the sailboat and sail around the world and do cool things. There's no difference. So when I could take down the barrier that said, I am small and constricted and undeserving, and open up to, wow, I can have this. Maybe I can only have it for a couple of hours today, but I can work on having it more tomorrow. And I can have this, and you're a nice person, you're just like me, you know, we're people on planet Earth, and you don't have any special dispensations from the divine that say you get to have a prosperous and joy-filled life, and I get to have a sucky life. It's not like that. And how can I open up my awareness to be able to have more and more and more? And one of the reasons we use spiritual mind treatment is to make a bigger equivalent, to open up our awareness to this idea that it can be, what did you call it, what day?
Grand.
A grand day. What a wonderful word, grand. It can be a grand day. It can be an amazing experience. Things can happen out of the blue that just lift us over and over and over again, that we can have that. And so when we do our spiritual mind treatments in the morning before we go out and open up to yesterday's consciousness that we've brought into today's creation, we want to be able to modify that a little bit and lift ourselves up to have a better today. And so we open and open and open, and what amazed me was how quickly I could create things that I wanted. I remember I had a Datsun. Remember when they were called Datsuns?
Yes.
This,
I had,
I had a Datsun that, needed a spiritual mind. I've had a few cars that I have to treat before I turn the key to make sure that they start. And I had this Datsun. I wanted what I would call a rich person's car. I wanted a big car. I wanted a beautiful car, a car where I could bring other people in the car, where the doors opened, from the outside and things like that. And inside of 3 months, I created what was an Oldsmobile. It was a big car. It was a beautiful, big, plush car. And I created that in 3 months. And I looked at it and I went, oh my God, how did I do that? It's like, really? This is my car paid for in full? If you're going to create something, create it paid for. Do I really get to have that? And I remember I would start it up and it would go, this big, lots of motor power, whereas the Datsun went, pop, 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 pop. So it was a big shift. But I could stretch my consciousness by going to the dealers, by riding in other people's nice cars, and by visualizing myself in a nice car, by hearing it, and seeing it, and accepting it. And yes, I get to have a nice car. I can have that. Not everybody in the world gets a nice car, but Barbara, I get to have a nice car. And so in stretching my ability to equal on a mental level what I wanted instead of what I had, I got to have new stuff. And this is an amazing process. When you look at yourself and you realize that all of the power is inside of us, that we're connected with everywhere and every when, with everything that's going on, and that power moves through us, and our lives is the result. When we really get that, then we start opening up to, well, I can have this, and I can have that, and I can be this kind of a person, and I can have fun in life. I can have wonderful, you had a waterfall party going on, all of a sudden people are calling you saying, hey, can I come, can I come? I hear you're meeting down by the river, can I come? So when we get that idea that there really is a power and a presence within us that we can use, we can do anything with it. When we realize that we've been standing in the ocean waves with a teaspoon because of some old idea that said we don't deserve to have more than this, and that we're the one limiting ourselves, then we can move it, maybe not to a super high-powered pump yet, but we certainly can move it to a cup, and then we can move it to a gallon, and then we can start having 55-gallon drums, and then we start just putting the hose in it and firing up the pump and just have an infinite supply of whatever it is we want. But we do it by stretching our ability to accept. And so be mindful. Be mindful of how many times you tell yourself no. Well, I'd really like to do this. No, you can't do that. You don't have enough time. You probably shouldn't spend the money. You shouldn't be doing this. Be mindful of how many times you tell yourself no. Because every time you tell yourself no, you're shrinking your mental equivalent of what you can have. And every time you tell yourself yes, then you're expanding it. So let's say you're looking for a new house, and you know that some of these houses seem like they're out of your price range. Go see them anyway. Oh, I don't deserve to step foot in that house. It's an open house. It's not costing anybody anything, but I shouldn't go in there because I'm not that person. Yes, you are. So go walk around the multi-million-dollar homes. I used to love that show, the Lives of the Rich and Famous. Just because it would expose me to things I had never seen before. I had no idea they existed. So look at yourself, and when do you tell yourself no, and is that helping? And when do you tell yourself yes? And if you think that it's going to cost you in time or money or whatever else it may cost you, consider what it costs you to tell yourself no. Because that you end up paying for in the circumstances in your life. If you can look at yourself and go, wow, that's really a limited belief that I'm holding about who I am, and I'm going to just tackle that head on, and I'm going to walk into the most expensive clothing store I can find, and I'm going to try everything on. I'm going to go into this house. I'm going to go sit in, one thing I love about going down to Miami, they have an entire Lamborghini dealership. It's a dealership. They don't just have one or two cars. Lamborghini. They have a dealership, and people have those cars. We've never seen so many Rolls Royces in one place in our lives as driving up and down on Collins Avenue on Miami Beach. People have Rolls Royces. Are they made out of different God stuff than we are? No. Same God stuff. It's just their ability to take the ocean water, went from a teaspoon to a pump a long time ago. And we're moving along that path, looking at what kind of containers we allow ourselves to have and how we can expand those. Stephen.
I don't know if you remember, but like, I think it was like the first or second class of December, I was telling you about how I went and got a gift for a friend.
Right.
Bought it. And ever since then, I've had like this different consciousness about money. I picked up 2 clients since then. I've got $750. I mean, I would have closed that account and never thought of it. And all of a sudden, oh, there's an error in your favor. It's $750.
Right, because months ago you bought somebody the expensive gift that you
Yes.
wanted to get them.
Yes.
Yeah, good for you. When you say no, thinking it's going to save you, it doesn't. It costs you. It costs a lot to tell ourselves no over and over and over again. RJ and then Jane.
Well, back when you were talking about your big Oldsmobile, I heard you say, you were stopping time to say, did I really manifest that? Maybe you're talking rhetorically, but it seemed like at those points you start questioning, did I really manifest this? Did I really deserve this?
It was, do I really deserve that? But I find that I get used to nice things really fast. Yeah.
But you have to hold that consciousness to keep those.
You do, you do. That's why if you give a teenager a car, typically they go and crash it because they don't have the consciousness to have the car. If you make them work for it and buy it, maybe split the money 50-50 with them, then they develop the consciousness of deserving that vehicle, and it lasts a lot longer. Jane and Troy.
I found in my life you could do that with love.
Yes.
Yeah, because when I was a little kid, in the name of love, I got really tossed around. It was like a nightmare. I thought this love is horrible. However, I had a lot of little friends, and I never had them to my house, but I would go to their houses, and I would look, and I would see people, you know, their moms and dads were really nice to them, and, you know, and I would just be watching and everything, and I think, oh, is that what love is?
Good for you. You were creating a mental equivalent.
Yes,
of that.
yes, and it was really, and so here I am, I'm 80, and I'm still alive, you know, so.
And you are
I'm
deeply
thrilled.
loved. You are loved.
Thank you, yeah, and by the center now, I always find something that loves me.
Troy.
Thinking about the fat cats driving the Lamborghinis in Miami Beach down the main drag, and they are able to obtain or manifest these wonderful items through the same principles we do, thought and desire. It does seem though that in this law, it is based on thought and desire, and not so much on necessarily the ethical or the in other words, a real stinker that really wants a Lamborghini and really wants to be rich. If that's his thought and that's his desire,
He can create that.
he can create it. but at the same time, it doesn't get him any closer to being a decent human being.
He may not care if he's a decent human being, but let's check out this very subtle hidden belief you have, that Lamborghini drivers are stinkers.
Fat cats.
And that part
Yeah,
of the demonstration
colored
of
it, yes.
extreme wealth comes at a compromise of character.
Yeah.
So be mindful of that, because if you have that inside of you and you have an opportunity to demonstrate extreme wealth, you'll go, oh no, I'm on a spiritual path. I don't want to waste my mojo on stuff.
Well, I just,
I want to have a connection of oneness, and I submit that they are not mutually exclusive.
yeah, I did color my language, but I think my true point though is really getting down to the ethics. Are there ethics involved, or is it just thought and desire
Oh,
and
no,
putting
you can
it?
be a jerk and use this teaching to demonstrate.
Yeah.
But what are you going to demonstrate? Everything that you demonstrate is going to have jerkism with it. Because the consciousness of the demonstration carries the consciousness of the cause with it. So if you're an angry, vindictive kind of person, you will create that in your experiences. So the trick here, Troy, is to demonstrate lavish abundance, joy, love, connection, and stay clear about who you are.
Right.
But I don't think that spirit chintzes on a sunrise,
No.
because it went all out on a sunrise yesterday.
It's just good if we get into it to understand the law itself, that it has nothing to do with, or I shouldn't say nothing, I'm taking a step too far, but it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with ethics or kindness or love. It's,
No, and being
So-
more
but-
consciously on the spiritual path, we bring that.
Yeah.
But be mindful that you are not having an either or, that I have to be ethical and kind and loving, or I have to be a stinker and get a Lamborghini. Because I believe that you can have both of those. I know very wealthy people that are wonderful beings, that they do wonderful things in life. They've just learned that they can have whatever it is they choose to have in their life.
right. Well, I'm thinking specifically of the so-called upper 2%. Living the life and having those things that they desire and want at a whim. And the other folks, the 98, which is most of us, we're finding out at this point in time, it's coming into our lives now, and the law is no longer for the 2%, but it seems like now it's being brought into the mainstream, and we're all getting it. We're
Right,
all getting it.
and that is my personal commitment,
Yeah.
to make these teachings available to everyone, no matter where they are or
Yeah.
what their circumstance is. Back when who was the big steel baron?
Rockefeller.
Carnegie. Back when Carnegie was having his
Fortune.
well, his empire built. They would talk about things that most people don't understand, and that is thought is cause. That we are the ones creating this, making this happen, having this. We are the ones that have the wherewithal inside of us to go for things that other people would be quaking in their boots, because there's usually a choice between freedom and safety. And most people choose safety. But what we're all learning is that we can have freedom and not lose our souls in the process, and not blame. Frankly, I'm all about the top 2%. Yes. To be able to stand in one place and command life, to show up as a plane, as a helicopter, as a new company, as a cure for malaria in Africa, whatever that is, I think that's an amazing use of power, and we don't want to use power over people. And that's where the self-awareness comes from.
And it's about just the general understanding through the world, to bring it to the consciousness of all people,
Mhm.
so that
If you focus on it, you're going to get it.
and
If you focus on it, you're going to get it. So think about what you're focusing on.
Quick thing about civil
I envision this wonderful world that's on its way just because of our teaching, and I know it's
I'm with
happening
you.
and I see it.
I envision a place where children don't die of starvation, of preventable diseases, of dysentery, because we have up-leveled our consciousness to where we understand that we have whatever it is that we choose to have, and the value of the individual rises up to where we don't just write off entire populations of people. You know, and that's where you bring the mindfulness in, that's where you bring the kindness and the love and the joy, but never think you have to sacrifice your ability to create to have that spiritual connection.
No, oh no.
That's the dance, and I think it's a very powerful dance. Ophia.
That's a similar issue I've been kind of grappling with for a while, and I think the cause and effect thing was really the concept that the only moral compass is cause and effect. Is this is this the effect you want? And for me, like when I've brought it before, the reincarnation thing for me, where because space-time is not linear, I realize that I am all of you at different points in time. I am everyone, every consciousness that has ever happened at different points in time. So it takes that whole judgment away, that whole, like, I can't be better than or worse than anyone else because it's all me at different times. And whether I figure it out in that lifetime or not, we all eventually figure out that stealing is stealing from ourselves, cruelty is self-harm, and compassion is self-love. You know, and so it kind of takes out that whole, like, there is no right and wrong as how we usually see it, or as how we're kind of taught.
You're right, there is no right and wrong.
Yeah,
There
it's
is
just
only
basing-
us manifesting form.
Mhm.
And how are we going to do it? And I'm cautioning you not to fall into the trap that says spiritual and materialism, which is right and wrong duality, that spiritual is good and materialism is bad because I have been poor and I have been wealthy and I like being wealthy better. I don't think there are any brownie points for being hungry, for not being able to take care of your family, for doing what you need to do in the world to be able to live a rich and full life. So the dance is, where does our self-worth come in, and where does our guilt and shame fit into that, which is the only reason that we point our finger at the Lamborghini drivers and the Rolls-Royce drivers. You know, I've seen people in a convertible Rolls-Royce driving down the road just having a ball, pure joy, pure light, pure cosmic spirit. They just choose to do it in a Rolls-Royce, and I gotta tip my hat to them. That's a wonderful way to demonstrate life. There's one of my favorite quotes in this chapter, and Ernest is talking about how you sometimes in your creative process you are changing consciousness, and it looks like things are falling apart as they fall together. You know, sometimes you've got to let go of a lot of things to embrace a bigger one. Sometimes you've got to put down the spoon and look around for a jug to open up your consciousness, and that could be people or jobs or experiences or belief systems. And he came up with this quote that I just, this sentence that I just love. He says, "To desert the truth in your hour of need proves that you don't understand the truth." So when you look like everything is falling apart, that's when you hold clearly onto your knowing that you are creating your experience, and that you are not governed by the experiences in your life. You are the one that governs your experiences. You are the point of power. You are the point of creation. And so when someone that you thought you were going to be with for the rest of your life says, "I don't want to be with you anymore," or when a job that you thought you were going to work until you retired says, "We don't want you anymore," or whatever, that's the time to stand fast in your knowing of truth, in your creating of your life. And if you falter in that moment, you just don't understand the creative process, because the creative process continues at every moment, no matter what is happening on the outside. And for that matter, whatever's happening on the outside is a demonstration of your thought a second ago. And so if you're wanting to change your thought, to change your creations, sometimes you have to let go of the demonstration of the thought from a second ago, because you no longer have that thought. You know, it's no longer good enough to just get by. It's no longer good enough to have someone who's there with you even though you both can't stand each other. It's no longer good enough to put up with in life. And so sometimes there is that point where I used to call it creative destruction, where things fall apart. And that is the time to be really, really clear. I am creating something magnificent here. Only good can come from this. This is an amazing blessing. Something wonderful's about to happen. It's not over yet. You know, however it is you language it for yourself, to stay clear during those times so you don't just reach back and grab, wait a minute, at least I knew what was going on before. It was awful, but at least I knew it, and now I don't want to let go of all of that because I don't know what's coming down the road. Well, sure you do. What's coming down the road is you. And if you have let go of your old equivalents, your old equal containers of cosmic jello or ocean water in a container, if you've let go of that, it's only because something new has filled that space. And so you can't keep that anymore. It's like when Emerson said that for every angel that walks out of your life, there's an archangel in the doorway waiting to come in. And I tell people, if you hadn't already left that relationship, that job, that car, that house, whatever, then you'd still be in it. But you've already gone on down the road. You just haven't had time and space catch up with you. And so that's the time to stay fast to your understanding that there's an amazing power moving through you, that you are the cosmic creator of your experience, and that the only thing that limits your ability to create whatever it is you want is your ability to hold the equal space inside of yourself. You know, sometimes we sing in Let There Be Peace on Earth, and people go, oh, you people, you're never going to have peace on earth. Yes, we are, because we have it now. And it takes only so long as to demonstrate in time and space and to show up. But we claim that now. So rather than just taking a little baby step, why don't you just go for what you want? Go for it all. Go for it all. And watch how when you embrace that idea in consciousness on the energetic level of creation, then amazing things show up in your life. I find that happens a lot when people are experiencing physical issues and they're kind of backed into a corner, you know, like you said, Hella, when all else fails, try treatment. When all else fails, when the doctors have told you that you're terminal or whatever, then maybe you should try the spiritual path and see if that works. But people are much more willing to let go of their old beliefs once they get that, to let go of the way they see the world, because they don't have that much to lose anymore. So it's not such a big freedom or safety choice. The safety's kind of gone out of the window, and so people get very open to this idea that they can create a whole new physical body, a new organ, a new diagnosis, a new experience inside of themselves, simply by opening up to the idea, which may mean spending time in meditation, feeling themselves running, or their heart pumping, or they're just feeling fantastic, you know, whatever that may be that they're creating, and really open up and embrace that, and then boom, the physical manifestation happens. But as long as we're okay, you know, the book Good to Great, the biggest problem to great is good. Because if it's good enough, if it's good enough to get by on, then you don't have to stretch and go to greatness. You know, and I think that we've all done a lot in this life, and that just to be mediocre for the rest of our lives is a waste. The only thing that's limiting us is us. Our belief in limitation is the only limitation that we have. I love that. The only limitation that we have is our belief in limitation. Jane, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say that Eric Butterworth is always saying, change your thought, change your life.
Yes, that is the Science of Mind motto. Change your thinking, change your life. And I like to add to that, change your thinking, change your life, change the world.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I always knew I wanted to change the world.
Mhm.
That's been my focus in life, is this stuff is just too good to keep to ourselves. That's why we invest so much into creating these videos to get them out in the world. And then those of you in Bulgaria, God bless you, copy them, share them with your friends. Do whatever you want with them. This stuff is too good to hide and say, oh, it's only the elite that can learn the power of the laws of mind and how to create our experience. This is for everybody, no matter what. Everybody, everybody, everybody. Ophia.
Yeah, that wasn't making sense to me why this would be something limited unless it wasn't really understood that we really are all connected, it really is one mind. So why would you hold back, why would you, keep water from one of your organs because it doesn't deserve it?
Right.
You're all functioning together. Don't you want the whole thing to go more fluidly? So.
And how can I hold the space for someone who, on the outside, compared to my life, really has it hard? Where there's soldiers coming through and killing people and famines and no water and really a more limited outer experience than I have. If I can't manifest it here in Asheville in 2019, then what kind of limitation am I putting out in the cosmic soup for everybody else? If I look at myself and say, well, there's only so far you can go, Barbara. You can have a couple of hundred people that come together at this center, and we'll just say that that's good enough. You've done your life's work and you're done. No. There's no way I'm going to be satisfied with that. Not when there are millions and millions of people ready to get this. I have to go for that greatness so that I can hold the space to lift the consciousness of everybody up. If I had stayed the poor welfare mom giving plasma and living a miserable life, then I would have dragged down everybody on the planet. Instead of looking at these hidden beliefs, stopping thinking about what I don't want, embracing things that just took my breath away and made me break out in a sweat, and going ahead and going forward, even though I was terrified. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be able to be where I am today. And I'm not done. I think that we have great, wonderful things ahead of us where we really can change the consciousness of every person on this planet. And it takes money. Sometimes it takes money. I'm so impressed with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and how they've, challenged to eradicate malaria. That's their first project. What do you want to do in your life? Save the lives of millions of children. I want to eradicate malaria. I want to create systems in place where people can have enough food and have enough water. The thing that creates political unrest and opens up a country to be overrun more than anything else is poverty. So why do we teach prosperity? Because if you have an educated, prosperous country, population, they're not going to be overrun by the army from across the border. It's not going to happen. But if you have people who are subsistence living, then they are open to having all kinds of things taken from them because they're focused on what they don't have. So we put, wells in Cambodia and somehow by bringing water, fresh water to villages, the children don't have to walk all day up and back to get polluted water. The child sex slave traffics go down, the kids can go to school, so the education rises up, all because there's something that's saying you have more than enough. As long as you're going to work that foot pedal, you can have all the water you want. You can stand here all day long, irrigate fields, take baths, have water fights, things that were completely out of the question before because it was how can I get enough and not spill it on my 6-year-old back walking up and back to the water supply so that my family can stay alive for another day. To change that thinking, and because we are one, to look inside of ourselves and say, how is it that I am still limiting myself to where I just give myself enough to make it through another day. And what do I need to do to open up my consciousness wide open to say, I have infinite flow and supply moving through my life. All I'm doing is deciding where it's going to show up. How do I do that? Because when we change inside of ourselves, then we create that connection with someone else to change them and for them to have the opportunity to change. You know, they say that the prayers that are not answered because of a capricious God, but they're answered because the person doing the praying comes into alignment with the answer to the prayer. And when you're treating for each other, when Ophia treats for Anne, then Ophia gets the clarity. When I know that I have more than enough to do whatever it is I want to do, then somehow the me that is still living in Malawi, the poorest country in the world, used to be Bangladesh, is somehow lifted up into a consciousness that there is more than enough. And if it, travels on the wings of the internet, great. And if it just goes on the vibes of consciousness, great. Because truth is truth. And so we want to be mindful. We want to hold our feet to the fire. We want to be vigilant. Stop thinking about what you can't have. Start thinking about all of the ways that you can have what you want to have. I used to do this when I did a lot of counseling, and someone would say, oh, I really want this, but I can't have that. Well, let's just pretend. What are different ways that you could have that? Well, the space people could land, and they could give you one of those. You could win the Publishers Clearinghouse. You could have an unknown benefactor that is going to give this to you. You could go to work in the company that makes those and get one of those. There's an infinite way when you start to think about it, all the different ways you can have what you want, that when you stop thinking about why you can't have what you want and start thinking about why you can have what you want, then all of a sudden your mental space opens up and you get a bigger mental equivalent. You get a bigger mold for unformed spiritual substance to fill up in your life. Les Brown, one of the biggest public speaker in the country, Les Brown, was a student of Johnny Coleman. Johnny Coleman was an offshoot of Unity, Universal Truth Center for Better Living. And Les Brown was taking classes with Johnny, much like this, long time ago, and he wanted to start his own group. And he started his own group, and he had 3 people come. And he went to Johnny Coleman afterwards and said, Johnny, I only had 3 people come to my group. And Johnny looked at him and said, well, that's because you have a 3-person consciousness. And he was very insulted, very insulted. But he had to look at that and said, I had a 3-person consciousness. If I had a 300-person consciousness, I would have had 300 people come. But I had 3. So he had to work on expanding his consciousness. And now he speaks to tens of thousands of people, and he's very funny, and he's, one more person who's stolen New Thought and sold it to the general public. But I don't really care how it gets out there as long as it gets out there. But I've always thought about that. When I look at my life and go, I don't like that, why did that happen? That shouldn't have happened to me. Of course it should have happened to me. It is my mental equivalent. It is my consciousness that has that. And the only work to do is in consciousness, to be able to look inside of ourselves and to expand that through whatever means, through meditations and visualizations, through going places and experiencing different things, with being willing to let go of some of the security desires that we have and go for some of the freedom desires that we have. And to know that no matter what happens, we are still creating our experience. We are the ones in charge of our lives. Stop thinking about what you can't have and why you can't have it. And start thinking about why you can have everything. You can awaken every morning filled with this energy and enthusiasm and love of life. You can bounce out of bed and go do wonderful things during the day. That may be at a job, but it'll be wonderful things during the day. You can have the best day ever every day of your life. You can be connected with people that you just go, how did this amazing being show up in my life? That's because you are the one who is the amazing being. If you have people around you who are crabby, they're not the crabby ones, you are. You're holding that consciousness of crabbiness. And so you pull out of perfectly nice people crabbiness, and then that's what you get. And other people have consciousness of love and joy, and everybody in their life is in alignment with that love and joy because they brought it. It's like the guy going into the village and going from one village to the other and meets someone from the village that he's going to and stops and says, hey, what kind of a village is it? And the person leaving the village that the other person is going to said, well, what kind of a village did you leave? Oh, it was a terrible village. It was full of awful people. They were just mean. Well, that's what's in this next village. And then somebody else comes along and says, hey, what kind of a village is it? Well, what kind of a village did you leave? People were wonderful. I loved it. We all supported each other. It was just great. That's what this village is because we bring it with us. We bring it with us because we carry the mental equivalent of what we have in our lives. And it is up to us to expand that in whatever way we want to have shift in our lives. More joy, more energy, more happiness, more health, more wholeness, more prosperity, more opportunity, more fun, whatever it is, we bring that with us, and we do it by creating the giant cosmic Jell-O mold into which spirit pours itself and shows up in physical form. Whatever mold you've got going on, that's because we picked the mold. So you want a starfish instead of a circle, a bunt, you know, pick a different mold. You want a bigger one instead of that teeny tiny one, pick a different mold. We have the mold inside of us, and we have the awareness and the discipline to choose to think the thoughts to create the experiences that give us the life that we want to have. Let's take a break. Good. So, you're old pros now at doing treatment work with each other. The energy is really clear. I love the laughter. Anything anybody wants to share? Hello.
Well, it was interesting. I was thinking about this thing about the cold kind of being connected to mental fuzziness, and I got a cold, and I was like, am I not very clear this afternoon? I just realized how totally not clear I am about just about anything. And so I was asking Debbie for help, and she said, well, what are you not clear about? And I was like, well, and it was just like the list is endless. So that, of course, is all going to change now because now I treat it for clarity.
So a couple of weeks ago, we did the mental cause and physical disease kind of thing, and colds had confusion linked to them.
Yeah.
So you're saying that you're looking at yourself going, why do I have this cold? I'm not confused. And then you started going, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I really need to be clear. Good for you. Watch how quickly the cold goes away. Yay. Who else? You just look like you're having a good time. Yes. One of the things that I like about this class is it allows you to establish relationships. And as much as I would like to think that people only come here for Science of Mind teaching, really it's the community that people come for. We're actually looking at doing more social type events to foster community and fun and that kind of a thing. So I love to look out and watch people laughing and connecting and making friends maybe where they wouldn't have made a friend if they didn't have this roof to come under. So very nice, very nice. Jane, are you feeling okay?
Thank you, yeah.
Yes, good.
And I'm full of peanut butter. And
Good, a little food and a little water. It's a wonderful
water,
combination.
too. Water and peanut butter.
Good, good. We will all know that you get home safely.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
thank you, yeah. Okay, my home car is right down there.
Yes.
Swap home.
Yes.
And I'll just get into it and drive home.
There you go. You're a bubble of light. Just a reminder, classes tomorrow night are canceled. whether there's snow or not, there's going to be black ice somewhere when people are going home at night. So we went ahead and just called it. So don't come tomorrow night if you're scheduled for a treatment. You should have gotten a call from Margot today, and those treatment appointments move out 1 week to the next week's class. Any other comments or questions? Are you liking this part? Oh, you're not reading the book. Read the book. Are you liking this part of the book?
Yes.
Yes.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Okay. I'll get off your case. I love you no matter what.
Well done, thank you.
I think treatment work is the most powerful thing we do. And the treatment work that this class does really puts in an energy in this room that I not only am grateful for, but I believe that it touches the lives of so many people that come here. And that energy is always here and always now. So thank you for that. And what I know is that we live in an abundant universe, that the presence of Spirit is limitless, and that each one of us is an individualization of the infinite prosperity and abundance of God itself, that we are made out of unlimitedness, and that our lives are our own making. And so we accept the blessings of life, all of the good in this world, all that is for us. We know that we set our sights high to create lives that are excellent, filled with joy, filled with health, filled with prosperity, filled with happiness of all kinds. And the only thing that the universe can do is respond by manifesting that in our lives. And so, as we give this gift tonight, we give it out of our fullness, our overflowing wealth and abundance. We give it out of all that we are, knowing that we go with this gift to bless this Center for Spiritual Living Asheville and all of the people who call it home. I know that each one of us comes together this night to make this center all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is.
So it is.
And I know that everything in these baskets is blessed, because every time we give anything, whether it's money, whether it's a smile, whether it's love, whether it's a knowing of truth, every time we give anything, that which we are, God in form as us, goes with the gift. So I see it in my mind's eye as golden light pouring forth from each one of us, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us. And I know as Spirit moves in our lives, things happen. And so right here and right now, and each and every one of us is touched. We are blessed and we are healed. And I know that that energy goes on out to surround this world, to touch and bless and heal every being on this planet, to remind us all of who we are and the power within us. Always here and always now, touching every one of us here tonight, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful week. Have fun tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I love you.